Rorschach's journal, October 12, 1985. Dog carcass in alley this morning, tired tread on burst stomach. This city is afraid of me. I have seen its true face. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up about their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us," and I'll look down and whisper, "No."
That's quite a drop.
Yeah, poor guy. You know, I always wonder, do you think you black out before you hit the sidewalk or what?
Frankly, I don't need to know that bad. What do you think happened here?
Well, looks like someone broke in by busting this door down. That would take two guys or one guy on serious drugs, because the door had a chain fastened on the inside, which means that the occupant was home when it happened.
Yeah, I saw the body, and he looked beefy enough to protect himself. I mean, this Blake guy, he had muscles like a weightlifter. He would have put up some kind of fight, I'm certain.
Yeah, well, looks like he lost.
The data we have suggests he's been doing some sort of overseas diplomatic work for years. A lot of classy expense account living. Maybe he just got soft. Hey, the guy he's shaking hands with in the picture? It's Vice President Ford.
I think we can rule him out as a suspect. A job like this just isn't his style.
A little money got stolen, but no way is this a straight burglary. Somebody really had it in for this guy. I mean, how did he go out of the window?
Maybe he tripped against it.
Forget it. That's strong glass, man. I think you'd have to be thrown. Which floor you want? Oh, ground floor, please. Ground floor, coming up.
Let's not raise too much dust over this one. We don't need any masked Avengers getting interested in cutting in.
You take this vigilante stuff too seriously. Since the Keene Act was passed in '77, only the government-sponsored weirdos are active. They don't interfere.
Screw them. What about Rorschach? He's crazier than a snake's armpit and wanted on 2 counts, murder 1. If he gets involved, we'll be up to our butts in corpses. What's the matter?
Nothing. Just a shiver. Must be getting a cold. So, there I was in the supermarket, buying dog food for old Phantom here. I turned the corner of the aisle and wham! I bump into the Screaming Skull. You remember him? I think I heard you mention him. Oh, I put him away a dozen times in the 40s. But he reformed and turned to Jesus since then. Married, got 2 kids. We traded addresses. Nice guy. Hollis, listen. It's almost midnight. I ought to go. Oh, sure. Lost track of the time there, talking about all that old stuff. You must have been bored as hell. You know better than that. These Saturday night beer sessions are what keeps me going. Yeah, well, us old retired guys gotta stick together. You know, it was a crying shame they put you youngsters out to grass in '77. You were a better night owl than I ever was. Hollis, we both know that's bullshit, but thanks anyway. Hey, watch with the language. This is the left hook that floored Captain Axis, remember? Thanks for another great night, Hollis. Take care of yourself. You too, Danny. God bless. Hello, Daniel. Got hungry waiting. Helped myself to some beans. Hope you don't mind. Rorschach? That is, no, of course, I don't mind. So, long time no see. How have you been keeping? Out of prison, so far. Take a look at this. What is it? This little stain, is that bean juice or... That's right. Human bean juice. Badge belonged to the comedian. Blood, too. He's dead. Dead? What? You're talking about the comedian? Investigated a routine homicide. Victim named Edward Blake. Found the costume in Blake's wardrobe. Seems he was the comedian. Somebody threw him out of a window. Somebody? Listen, maybe we could talk about this down in my workshop. I feel kind of exposed up here. Right down this way. You haven't been down here for a while. Neither of you. A lot of dust. Yeah, well, you know. Sometimes I come and sit down here for a while, but there doesn't seem much point since I retired. Listen, about the comedian, might it have just been an ordinary burglary or something? Maybe the killer didn't know who Blake was. An ordinary burglar? Kill the comedian? Ridiculous. I guess it doesn't seem very likely. I heard he'd been working for the government since '77, knocking over Marxist republics in South America. Maybe this was a political killing. Maybe. Or maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes. How's your friend Hollis Mason these days? Hollis? What does he... They were both Minutemen when Blake was 16 and Mason was the first night owl. That book Mason wrote, he said some bad things about the comedian in it. Rorschach, I don't like what you're implying here. Implying nothing. Just an observation. Anyway, I thought I'd let you know, in case somebody's gunning for masks. Better go now. Things to do. Yeah, well, the tunnel brings you out in a warehouse 2 blocks north. Yes, I remember. Used to come here often, back when we were partners. Oh, yeah. Yeah, those were great times, Rorschach. Great times. Whatever happened to them?
You quit. Rorschach's Journal, October 13th, 1985. Soon, it will be dark. Beneath me, this awful city. It screams like an abattoir full of retarded children. New York. On Friday night, a comedian died in New York. Somebody knows why. Down there, somebody knows. The dusk reeks of fornication and bad consciences. I believe I shall take my exercise.
Rorschach. How you doing, fella?
I'm fine, Happy Harry. Yourself?
Fine. I'm fine. I'm glad you're fine too. And oh God, please don't kill anybody.
Guy went sidewalk diving Friday night. I don't think he was alone when it happened. Name was Edward Blake, friend of mine.
Hey, you hear that? He's got friends. Must have changed his deodorant. Steve, for God's sake, man, shut up. I gotta take a leak. Hey, I didn't mean anything. I haven't been in the apple too long, and I've
just broken this gentleman's little finger. Who killed Edward Blake? And his index finger. Who killed Edward Blake?
Please, we don't know. Oh, God, man, leave him alone.
First visit of evening, fruitless. Nobody knew anything. Feel slightly depressed. This city is dying of rabies. Is the best I can do to wipe random flecks of foam from its lips. Never despair. Never surrender. I leave the human cockroaches to discuss their heroin and child pornography. I have business elsewhere, with a better class of person.
The comedian dead? But why?
You were always supposed to be world's smartest man, Veit. You tell me.
I never claimed to be anybody special, Rorschach. I just have some overenthusiastic PR men. Listen, could it have been a political killing? Maybe the Soviets...
Dryberg said same thing. Don't believe it. America has Dr. Manhattan. Reds have been running scared since '65. They'd never dare antagonize us. I think we've got a masked killer.
Not necessarily. The comedian had plenty of other political enemies to choose from. The man was practically a Nazi.
He stood up for his country, Veit. He never let anybody retire him. Never cashed in on his reputation. Never set up a company selling posters and diet books and toy soldiers based on himself. Never became a prostitute. If that makes him a Nazi, you might as well call me a Nazi too.
Rorschach, I know we were never friends, but even so, you're being unfair. Nobody retired me. I chose to quit adventuring and go public 2 years before the police strike made the Keene Act necessary.
Yes, Good timing. I came here to warn you about the mask killer, so you didn't end up smartest man in the morgue. But I guess there's worse things to end up as. Be seeing you. Sure. Have a nice day. Meeting with Veidt left bad taste in mouth. He is pampered and decadent, betraying even his own shallow liberal affectations. Possibly homosexual. Must remember to investigate further. Dryberg as bad. A flabby failure who sits whimpering in his basement. Why are so few of us left active, healthy, and without personality disorders? The first night owl runs an auto repair shop. The first Silk Spectre is a bloated, aging whore dying in a Californian rest resort. Captain Metropolis was decapitated in a car crash back in '74. Mothman's in an asylum up in Maine. The Silhouette retired in disgrace, murdered 6 weeks later by a minor adversary seeking revenge. Dollar Bill got shot. Hooded Justice went missing in '55. The comedian is dead. Only 2 names remaining on my list. Both share private quarters at Rockefeller Military Research Center. I shall go to them. I shall go and tell the indestructible man that someone plans to murder him.
Good evening, Rorschach.
Good evening, Dr. Manhattan.
What are you doing here, Rorschach? This is a government base, and I hear you're wanted by the police.
Good evening, Miss Jupiter.
That's you, Spechik. Jupiter was just a name my mother assumed because she didn't want anyone to know she was Polish.
Apologies. Came to warn you both and bring bad news. The comedian is dead.
Yes. Since he and I are the only 2 extra-normal operatives currently employed by the government, I was informed on Saturday morning.
Take it you're not too concerned about Blake's death.
Life and death are unquantifiable abstracts. Why should I be concerned?
Anyway, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Blake was a bastard. He was a monster. You know, he tried to rape my mother back when they were both Minutemen.
So you support the allegations made in Hollis Mason's book concerning Blake?
What Mason said in Under the Hood is what happened. Why do you think Blake never sued Mason?
I'm not here to speculate on the moral lapses of men who died in their country's service. I came to warn.
Rape is a moral lapse. John, get this creep out of here.
You seem to be upsetting Laurie. I think you ought to go.
With respect, Dr. Manhattan, I believe someone is eliminating masked adventurers, possibly some old foe with a grudge. I believe
I said, I think you ought to go.
Spent a lot of time getting in to see you, not leaving before I've had my say.
He's gone. Are you still upset?
Yeah, I just don't like Rorschach. He's sick. Sick inside his mind. The sooner the police put him away, the better. John.
Yes, Laurie.
I feel cooped up sometimes. Maybe I could use a night out. You know, Rorschach mentioned Dan Dryberg. We haven't seen Dan in years. Maybe I'll call him up. Ask him out to dinner. If you don't mind, that is.
Of course not. I'd join you, but I think I'm close to locating a gluino, which would completely validate supersymmetrical.
That's fascinating. I'll call Dan. Hello, Dan? Laurie. Laurie, you Spechik.
Rorschach's Journal, October 13th, 1985, 11:30 p.m. On Friday night, a comedian died in New York. Someone threw him out of a window, and when he hit the sidewalk, his head was driven up into his stomach. Nobody cares. Nobody cares but me. Are they right? Is it futile? Soon there will be war. Millions will burn. Millions will perish in sickness and misery. Why does one death matter against so many? Because there is good and there is evil, and evil must be punished. Even in the face of Armageddon, I shall not compromise in this. But there are so many deserving of retribution, and there is so little time.
Me and John? Oh, yeah, everything's fine. Couldn't be better. It's just, I keep thinking I'm 35. What have I done? I've spent 8 years in semi-retirement, preceded by 10 years running around in a stupid costume because my stupid mother wanted me to. You remember that costume? With that stupid little short skirt and the neckline going down to my navel. God, that was so dreadful.
God, yes, dreadful.
You know, when I think back, why did we do it? Why did we dress up like that? The Keene Act was the best thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Hey, you remember that guy? The one who pretended to be a super villain so he could get beaten up? Oh, you mean Captain Carnage. He was one for the books. I caught him coming out of this jeweler's. I didn't know what his racket was. I start hitting him, and I think, geez, he's breathing funny. Does he have asthma? He tried that with me. Only I'd heard about him, so I just walked away. He follows me down the street, broad daylight, right? He's saying, "Punish me." I'm saying, "No, get lost." Whatever happened to him? Well, he pulled it on Rorschach, and Rorschach dropped him down an elevator shaft. Oh, God, I'm sorry. That isn't funny. Oh, jeez. You know, that felt good. There don't seem to be so many laughs around these days.
Well, what do you expect? The comedian is dead.